Good morning, everybody. Hope all of you are safe. So, in today's topic, I would like to speak about the lung volumes and the capacities, which come under the purview of the pulmonary function tests. These lung volumes and capacities are taught across all the years in the MBBS curricula, starting from the first year MBBS, second year MBBS, and also final year MBBS. So this is a topic which is useful for all the years of the MBBS, and this topic is also very much helpful for the NEET PG aspirants. So that's why I thought that lung volumes and capacities, let's learn them with the help of the multiple choice questions. So without wasting much time, let's go to the first slide. And the first slide is the question. Functional residual capacity of the lung is defined as. So he's asking us the definition of a capacity which is called as a functional residual capacity. Is it volume expired after normal expiration? Is it volume remaining in the lungs after forced expiration? Is it a combination of expiratory reserve volume and the residual volume? Or is it tidal volume plus the volume inspired forcefully? So, in order to answer such kind of questions, let's dive into the details of the lung volumes and the capacities. The lung volumes and capacities are broadly divided into two types. One is called as the static lung volume and capacity, and the one is called as the dynamic lung volume and the capacity. The basic difference between the static and the dynamic lung volumes is that the dynamic lung volume is a timed lung volume. Dynamic lung volume is a timed lung volume, and dynamic lung volumes are usually flow rates. These are usually flow rates. How flow rates are expressed? Flow rates are usually expressed as this much ml of air per minute. So what I am using here, I am using minute. So minute is a time. So whenever I am timing a static lung volume, that lung volume is going to become a dynamic lung volume. And the static lung volumes are not just timed, not timed. So let's say I want to say how much is the volume of air a person inspires or expires in each breath. So let's say I want to just tell it as, so I'm going to inspire or expire 500 ml of air in each breath. So I'm not timing it. I'm not putting it as ml per second or in 1 second or in 1 minute or in 1 hour. So whenever I'm not timing a lung volume and capacity, that is called as a static lung volume and capacity, and whenever it is timed, that is called as a dynamic lung volume and capacity. And these lung volumes and capacities, either static or dynamic, are measured by using an instrument which is called as a spirometer. And the graph which we obtain by using the spirometer is what is called as a spirogram. So this spirogram is extremely important for us. In this spirogram, we should be able to draw this spirogram. We should be able to identify different lung volumes and capacities in this spirogram. And not only that, we should be also able to define by looking at the spirogram the different lung volumes and capacities. So let's draw the spirogram. But before drawing the spirogram, I would like to tell you one simple rule of the spirogram. In the spirogram, whenever the graph is going up, that is suggestive of inspiration. And whenever the graph goes down, that is suggestive of expiration. This is the basic rule which we have to remember. Okay, so let's try and draw the spirogram. First, let me draw two lines. Now, what the person is doing is, I will ask the person to breathe into the spirogram. Whenever the person breathes, whenever he is taking a inspiration or inhalation, what is going to happen? The graph is going to move up. And whenever he exhales, the graph moves down. Again, whenever he inhales, the graph moves up. And whenever he exhales, the graph is going to move down. So this much amount of air is inspiration and this much amount of air is expiration. Now this is the amount of air the person is inhaling or exhaling when the person is at rest and in one single breath. So this amount of air is what is called as tidal volume. This is called as tidal volume. So how do we define tidal volume? Amount of air which a person is either inhaling or exhaling in one single breath, not both taken together, either inspiration or expiration, either during inspiration or expiration, amount of air a person is taking in, but the person is at rest here. This is what is called as the tidal volume. Next, I will ask the person to take a deep possible inspiration. Sorry for this graph. Okay, it's on that side. should be like this. Okay, so the amount, I'm asking the person to take a deep possible inspiration. Very bad at drawing, that's the thing. Okay, deep possible inspiration with maximum inspiratory effort. So now I want you to tell me this volume. What is the volume extending from this point to this point? So what I have asked the person to do here is that I have asked the person to take a deep possible inspiration, and I want you to calculate this much volume of air. What is this volume of air? This is the volume of air which a person can inhale above the normal tidal inspiration. This was the normal tidal inspiration, this is the normal tidal expiration. So the amount of air which a person can inhale above the normal tidal inspiration, above that with the maximum inspiratory effort, is called as inspiratory reserve volume. It is called as inspiratory reserve volume. In the similar way, I will ask the person to exhale the extra amount of air. Exhale the extra amount of air with maximum expiratory effort. So this much amount of air which a person is able to exhale above the normal tidal expiration, okay, that is what is called as expiratory reserve volume. This is called as expiratory reserve volume. And when a person exhales this amount of air out of the lung, this is the extra amount of air which the person is exhaling with maximum expiratory effort. Even after exhaling that much amount of air, still little bit amount of air will be left out in the lungs. So the lungs are not completely empty. This amount of air which is left out in the lung after a maximum expiration is what is called as residual volume. So here we have four volumes. One is the tidal volume, second one is the inspiratory reserve volume, third one is the expiratory reserve volume, and fourth one is the residual volume. Now in this spirogram we can easily identify which is the tidal volume, which is the inspiratory reserve volume, which is the expiratory reserve volume, and which is the residual volume. And we can also, by looking at the spirogram, we can easily define all these four volumes. Now coming to the capacities. Whenever I say the word capacity, capacity is always a sum of two or more volumes. So one such sum is when I mix inspiratory reserve volume with the tidal volume, I get a capacity which is called as inspiratory capacity. Inspiratory capacity. Okay, this is how we calculate inspiratory capacity. But someone asks you what is the definition of inspiratory capacity? Inspiratory capacity is this much volume of air extending from this point till this point. So what is this amount of air? This is the amount of air which a person can inhale with maximum inspiratory effort from the end of the tidal expiration. See, I told you this is the expiration and this is the end of the tidal expiration. From the end of the tidal expiration, the amount of air which a person can inhale with maximum inspiratory effort is what is called as inspiratory capacity. There is a very slight difference between inspiratory capacity and the inspiratory reserve volume. When I am telling regarding the inspiratory reserve volume, it is beginning from this point. That is the point from where the tidal inspiration is ending. Whereas the inspiratory capacity is the volume of air which is beginning from the end of the tidal expiration. Tidal expiration. So this is inspiratory capacity. There is one more capacity which is a mix of ERV and RV. That is expiratory reserve volume and residual volume. This is called as the functional residual capacity. Now I can say what is functional residual capacity? Functional residual capacity is equal to ERV plus RV. But how are we going to define the functional residual capacity? What is functional residual capacity? This is this much amount of air which is left out in the lung after a normal expiration. Okay, there is a difference. After forceful expiration, how much amount of air is left out in the lung is called as the residual volume. After normal expiration also, this much amount of air is left out in the lung, and this is what is called as functional residual capacity. Now the third capacity is a very important capacity. That's why this capacity is also called as a vital capacity. I'll tell you what is vital capacity. Now, what I ask the person to do is, I ask the person to take a deep possible inspiration with maximum inspiratory effort. And after that, I ask the person to exhale this air completely out. Again, forceful maximum expiratory effort. And now I am interested in calculating this volume of air coming from here to here. So what is this volume of air? This is the volume of air which a person is exhaling with maximum expiratory effort. With maximum expiratory effort. But prior to that, what the person has done? Prior to that, the person has taken a deep possible inspiration. So this volume of air which a person is exhaling with maximum expiratory effort, okay, maximum expiratory effort, prior to that the person has taken a deep possible inspiration. This much volume of air is what is called as vital capacity, our third capacity. Our first capacity was the inspiratory capacity, second capacity was the functional residual capacity, and the third capacity. Now if I ask you to calculate vital capacity is a sum of three volumes. One is inspiratory reserve volume from here to here, second one is this volume, this is the tidal volume, and the third volume is this, which is the expiratory reserve volume. So vital capacity is equals to ERV plus TV plus IR. These are the three things. So vital capacity is this. And a total of all these is called as the total lung capacity. So we have seen four lung volumes and four lung capacities. The inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume, and the residual volume. Four capacities are inspiratory capacity, functional residual capacity, the vital capacity, and the total lung capacity. Now we can identify all these lung volumes and capacities in a given spirogram, and we can also define the lung volumes and the capacity. So this is again a revision of what I told you on how to define and what is the normal volume. Okay, normal volume. So what is tidal volume? Tidal volume is nothing but the amount of air which is inhaled or exhaled, which is either inhaled or exhaled in one breath, in one single breath during relaxed quiet breathing, and the volume is 500 ml. What is inspiratory reserve volume, which is also called as IRV? This is the amount of air in excess of tidal inspiration, above the tidal inspiration, that can be inhaled with maximum effort. Okay, what is expiratory reserve volume? Amount of air in excess of tidal expiration amounting to 1200 ml that can be exhaled with maximum effort. What is residual volume? Amount of air remaining in the lungs after maximum, even after I have expired the air maximally, even after that some amount of air is going to remain, that is called as residual volume. What is vital capacity? Amount of air that can be exhaled with maximum effort, which a person is exhaling with maximum effort after a maximum inspiration. I told you, once the person has to take in the air and then he has to exhale out the air. So this amount is what is called as vital capacity. Okay, this is a very important capacity, a combination of ERV, TV, and RV. Inspiratory capacity, maximum amount of air that can be inhaled after expiration, normal tidal expiration. Functional residual capacity is the amount of air remaining in the lung after a normal tidal expiration. After a normal expiration, how much is the amount of air that is remaining in the lung is what is called as the functional residual capacity. Total amount of lung in the air accounting to around 6 liters is what is called as the total lung capacity. Coming back to our question. What was the question? Functional residual capacity of the lung is defined as. So whenever we are facing such a kind of question, put a simple spirogram beside. IRV, ERV. In this only we are also having the total lung capacity. Now what is it that he is asking? He is asking the functional residual capacity. Is it the volume of air which is expired after normal expiration? This is normal expiration. Volume of air which is expired after or above the normal expiration is ERV. So the first option is not functional residual capacity, but it is ERV. Volume remaining in the lung after forced expiration. This is again the forced expiration. The volume which remains in the lung after the forced expiration, what is this called as? This is called as residual volume. So this is residual volume. ERV plus RV. What is this ERV plus RV? Just now I discussed, it is nothing but the functional residual capacity. So this option is a correct option. Tidal volume plus volume inspired forcefully. So tell me, what is this? This is the tidal volume plus volume inspired forcefully. What is this? A combination of TV and IRV? Yes, exactly. It is nothing but our inspiratory capacity. So once we know the basics of the spirogram, any kind of such question which looks very simple but quite confusing can be easily answered. So knowledge of the spirogram and knowledge of where is the volume, which is the capacity, and how to define it is very important for answering such kinds of question. Second question, I hope you can answer this. Tidal volume is calculated by. So even whenever I am also confused, I can just put a simple spirogram to answer such questions. So I have put up the spirogram here. So now what is he asking? He is asking regarding this volume, which is the tidal volume. How do you calculate it? Inspiratory capacity minus IRV. What is inspiratory capacity? A combination of these two. Minus IRV. What is IRV? IRV is this. Yes, that is the tidal volume. Okay, so that is the tidal volume. This is the inspiratory capacity minus the inspiratory reserve volume is tidal volume. Now next, let's see other options. Total lung capacity minus, this is not the reserve volume, this should be the residual volume. Okay, this should be residual volume. So what is the total lung capacity? Total lung capacity is total top to bottom minus the residual volume. Which is the residual volume? This much is the residual volume. So what will be this much amount of air which is there? This is usually our vital capacity. FRC minus residual volume. What is FRC? This is FRC, a combination of ERV and RV minus the residual volume. Will be left out with this volume. And what is this volume? This volume is expiratory reserve volume. Vital capacity minus ERV. See, from here to here, this is vital capacity. I am negating this much from here. So this much will be remaining. What is this much? This is nothing but our inspiratory capacity. So anything if they are going to ask you, we can easily come to an answer if we know the spirogram. If we know the spirogram. Spirometry can demonstrate and measure all of the following except. This is a very simple question. Okay, there is no need for me to answer, and the answer is straightforward: residual volume. Okay, spirometry, remember, it can demonstrate and it can measure all of the following, but it cannot measure one volume, which is the residual volume. Why we cannot measure residual volume? Because this is the volume of air which is present inside the lungs. It is never going to come out. Any volume which is going to come out of the lungs can be measured. So when we cannot measure the residual volume, because of the residual volume, we also cannot measure two more volumes which are related with residual volumes. That is functional residual capacity. Why? Because functional residual capacity is a combination of residual volume and expiratory reserve volume. I can measure expiratory reserve volume, but I cannot measure residual volume. Hence, I cannot measure FRC. When I cannot measure one volume in the total lung volume, then even I cannot measure the total lung capacity. So spirometry cannot measure these three things. It cannot measure the residual volume, it cannot measure the functional residual capacity, and even it cannot measure the total lung capacity. To measure the functional residual capacity, this capacity is important. Sometimes we have to measure it. We use three important techniques. One is called as full body plethysmography. Okay, this is the preferred technique, full body plethysmography. Second is called as the helium dilution technique. Helium dilution technique. And the third one is called as the nitrogen washout method. Nitrogen washout method. So these are the three techniques. Sometimes they may ask you in the exams which one or which of the following technique is used for the measurement of the FRC. This is nothing but full body plethysmography. This is the preferred method, helium dilution, and also the nitrogen washout. So simple spirometry cannot measure these three, and that's why TLC also cannot be measured. In which of the following conditions the respiratory muscles are relaxed? This is a very tricky question. Many of you would have not studied regarding this part in your first year MBBS also, and even in final year MBBS is asking in which of the following conditions the respiratory muscles are relaxed. Okay, again let me draw the spirogram. Okay, what I am doing here is inhalation, exhalation, inhalation, exhalation, forceful inhalation, okay, and then a forceful exhalation. This is the simple spirometer. What is this? This is our tidal volume. What is this? This is our inspiratory reserve volume. What is this? This is our expiratory reserve volume. And amount of air which is remaining in the lungs even after forceful expiration is called as residual volume. And what is the combination of ERV and RV called? This is nothing but the functional residual capacity. Okay. One thing is, this is inspiration and this is expiration. One more thing which I would like to tell you is that for inspiration to occur at rest, I need contraction of the muscles. Contraction of the muscles. That means inspiration which is occurring at rest is a active process. It's an active process. Why it's called as an active process? Because contraction of the muscles is required. So whenever there is contraction of the muscles, what is going to happen is the intrapulmonary pressure is going to become more negative. It is going to become more negative with reference to what? With reference to the atmospheric pressure. So whenever there is contraction of the inspiratory muscles, maybe the external intercostals and the diaphragm, the entire volume of the thoracic cage is increasing. So whenever the volume of the thoracic cage is increasing, there are two forces which are acting on the thoracic cavity. One force is which is coming from the chest wall. The chest wall is always wanting to expand outside, and another force is coming from the lungs. The lungs are always wanting to collapse. So these two are the opposing forces which are acting. So when the chest wall is expanding and the lung is wanting to collapse, there is a space in between these two which is called as a pleural space. So what is going to happen to the pressure inside the pleural space? It is going to become more and more negative. This pressure is transferred to the intrapulmonary pressure, and intrapulmonary pressure is also going to become negative compared to the atmospheric pressure. So whenever the intrapulmonary pressure becomes more negative compared to the atmospheric pressure, there is a movement of air occurring from outside to inside. This is what is called as tidal volume or the tidal inspiration. Inspiration, whatever the person is inhaling. Okay, but remember that at rest, expiration is a passive process. It does not require contraction of any of the muscles. So expiration is basically occurring because of what is called as elastic recoiling of the lungs. It is occurring because of elastic recoiling. So this is the amount of air which is entering inside the lungs. For this amount of air to enter inside, I need contraction of the muscles contracting, pressure is falling down, and this much amount of air is entered into the lungs. Now the process of expiration begins. When the process of expiration begins, no muscle is contracting, and whichever muscle has contracted till here, it is relaxing. So, till by the end of expiration or the tidal expiration, what is happening? No muscle is actively contracting. No muscle is actively contracting. And what is the volume of air at the end of expiration or normal expiration? The volume of air is equal to functional residual capacity. So this is what is called as our relaxation volume. This is what is called as our relaxation volume. The volume of the lung, or the how much is the volume of the lung which is present, volume of the air which is present in the lung, which the muscles are completely relaxed. Inspiration has taken place, contraction has taken place, and it has begun to relax. And by the end of expiration, the inspiratory muscles are relaxed. By the end of expiration, there is no role of expiratory muscles in passive in relaxation. So this is what is called as functional resistance. So the answer to this condition is, in which of the following conditions the respiratory muscles are relaxed? Better question would have been, in which of the following conditions or in which of the following lung volumes the respiratory muscles are relaxed. The lung volume at which the respiratory muscle is relaxed is the functional residual capacity. Functional residual capacity. One more thing I would like to tell you here is that this is the point at which the intrapulmonary pressure is zero. That means the intrapulmonary pressure is equivalent to the atmospheric pressure. So this is the point wherein inspiration is also not occurring and expiration has also already occurred. Okay, so that's why this relaxation volume, what we call as FRC, it is also called as equilibrium volume. It is also called as equilibrium volume. Remember this thing. So they can ask you in the form of equilibrium volume, they can also ask you in the form of relaxation volume, or they can say at uh, what is the volume of the lungs at which the intrapulmonary pressure is zero. All is your functional residual capacity. Okay, so remember this point. So relaxation volume corresponds to a point where intrapulmonary pressure is absolutely zero. Recoil of the chest wall here balances the recoil of the lungs. I told you that two forces are always acting in opposite direction. They are acting in the opposite direction. One is a force of the chest wall which always wants to expand out. Okay, one is a force of the lungs which always wants to collapse in. So two forces, one force is acting in this direction, another force is acting in this direction. This is the point at which the force of the chest wall is equivalent to the force or the recoiling tendency of the lungs. The lungs are wanting to collapse always. Okay, collapse always. The collapse is more whenever there is expiration. Okay, remember this point. So this point also corresponds with the FRC of the lung. So if they say equilibrium volume, or they say relaxation volume, or even if they say the volume at which the intrapulmonary pressure is zero, all these three corresponds to the functional residual capacity. All these three are corresponding with the functional residual capacity. In which of the following conditions the respiratory muscles are relaxed? It is nothing but our FRC. Closing volume is volume of the lung. So first of all, to understand this closing volume and to answer this question, first let's see the options. What is closing volume is what he is asking. It is above the residual volume in non-dependent parts of the lung, or is it above the residual volumes in the dependent parts of the lung, or is above the tidal volume in non-dependent parts of the lung, above the tidal volume in the dependent parts of the lung. It looks like I don't know the answer. That is how many of us would be telling. But what is this closing volume? What is this closing volume? Closing volume is nothing but the volume of air which is present in the lungs at which the lungs begin to the lungs begin to collapse. The volume of the air which is present in the lungs, at which the lungs begin to collapse. So this is how the lungs are. Okay, whenever a person inhales the air, at that point of time the alveoli are going to they are going to expand, and whenever a person is exhaling the air, that point of time the alveoli are going to collapse. So it is during the process of exhalation that there could be the collapse of the alveoli. Okay, that there could be collapse of the alveoli. So again we will go back to our spirogram. Inspiration, alveoli expand. Expiration, alveoli collapse. Again inspiration, alveoli expand. Expiration, alveoli collapse. If the person is forcefully exhaling, the person is forcefully exhaling, then there is more chance of alveoli getting collapsed. So at somewhere around this volume, okay, this is the volume at which the alveoli or the lung, they begin to collapse. This is what is called as the collapsing volume. What is below this volume? Below this volume is this volume, which is nothing but our residual volume. So when do you think the alveoli begin to collapse? Alveoli begin to collapse above the residual volume. And this collapse is more prominent in the dependent parts of the lungs rather than in the independent parts of the lungs. So closing volume is the volume of the lung above the residual volume in the dependent parts of the lung. Okay, this is above the residual. It is not above the tidal volume. Above the tidal volume is which volume? Above the tidal volume is inspiratory reserve volume. And what happens during inspiratory reserve volume? There is expansion of the alveoli. There is expansion of the alveoli. So remember this thing regarding the closing volume. And there is one more terminology which is called as a closing capacity. Closing capacity, which is nothing but a combination of closing volume and residual volume. So closing volume is the volume of lung above the residual volume. It is above that at which airways in the dependent parts of the lungs close or they begin to close. These airways, which are these airways? These are usually the smaller bronchioles which don't have a cartilage. They are the one which have the tendency to collapse more. Fine. And what is this closing capacity? It's a combination of closing volume plus residual volume. Next question. In normal adult, VD by VT ratio. What is VD? What is VT? If we don't know what is VT and what is VT, we cannot answer. Okay. VD is dead space volume corresponding to the anatomical dead space, and VT is the tidal volume. So if we know this, we can easily answer this question. What is dead space volume? Dead space volume we know is 150 ml. How much is the tidal volume? Tidal volume is 500 ml. So VD is 150 divided by 500. So this will come to 0.3. So that's the answer. It's a simple question. Only thing is we should know regarding that. Okay. Next, calculate the alveolar ventilation. I have already explained you in my first video that whenever I am talking about ventilation in the lung, there are two types of ventilation. One is pulmonary ventilation and another one is called as alveolar ventilation. What is ventilation? Ventilation is the amount of air which a person can inhale or exhale in each minute. In each minute. What is tidal volume? Tidal volume is the amount of air which a person can inhale or exhale in each breath at rest. In each breath at rest. So how do we calculate the ventilation? Pulmonary ventilation is calculated as tidal volume multiplied by respiratory rate, because tidal volume is the amount of air which a person is inhaling in each breath. If I multiply it with respiratory rate, I am going to get the amount of air a person inhales and exhales in each breath. So normally, if we do this, this is how we will get. But what is alveolar ventilation? Alveolar ventilation is tidal volume minus the dead space. I'm removing here dead space because I don't want to take that into consideration, that volume of air into consideration, which is not taking part in the active exchanges of the gases, multiplied by the respiratory rate. So how much is the tidal volume? Here he has given, tidal volume of 500 ml. calculate. And vital capacity, dead space volume will be taken as 150 ml. That's the normal dead space volume. How much is the respiratory rate? Here the respiratory rate is 14 per minute, so multiplied by 14. So this will be 350 multiplied by 14. It will come to 4900 ml per minute. So that's the answer. This is the answer, 4900 ml per minute. A 35-year-old male is subjected to spirometer testing. Given below is his spirogram. What is his expiratory reserve volume? Very easy after understanding spirogram. So first let's mark what is the tidal volume. Okay. So this much is his tidal volume. What is this volume? This is his inspiratory reserve volume. Okay. What is this? This is his vital capacity. What he is asking us here is this volume. This is his expiratory reserve volume. See here we cannot calculate the residual. I don't know how much is the amount of air left in the lung even after maximum expiration. So this is his expiratory reserve volume. So he says here 1 and 2, and between 1 and 2 there are two divisions. That means this is given in liter. Each division is 0.5 liters. So this is 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 and 0.5. So how much this will come to? This will come to 2 liters. So it's very easy. So once we have understood, so how much is the tidal volume? Tidal volume is 0.5 liters. How much is the inspiratory reserve volume? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So inspiratory reserve volume is 2.5 liters. And in a similar way, we can also calculate the vital capacity. Okay. So these are the few multiple choice questions, and this is the basics of the static lung volumes and capacities. In the next part of this video, which I will be uploading very soon, I will be discussing regarding the dynamic lung volumes and capacities. The dynamic lung volumes and capacities are of paramount importance because these are the one which are used clinically to identify or to diagnose so many respiratory disorders, and based on that the respiratory disorders are classified as obstructive respiratory disorders and restrictive respiratory disorders. So many clinical scenarios also we will see in the next class, so please stay tuned. And if you feel that this video was helpful for you, please like and share this video as much as possible. Thank you.